So, with the Minnesota Vikings barely beating the Chicago Bears on the road this past Sunday, I think it's a very fair question to ask. How good is Minnesota really? Because I don't know about you guys, but this team seems not necessarily fraudulent. It's definitely a playoff team, but this has the writing of a one and done playoff team all over it. Not sure if anyone remembers, but I believe the 2020 year, the Steelers went 13 and 0, and then they lost a couple of their final regular season games. And then once the playoffs started, they lost to the Browns at home, and that was it for them. And obviously, the Vikings aren't undefeated, but they were for a long stretch there. And I just think they're not as good as their record really shows. Yes, Aaron Jones looks great when he's healthy and when he's on the field. Of course, they have Justin Jefferson, Addison, and getting TJ Hawkinson back is huge. The O-line is good enough. That defense for the first part of the year was really, really elite. Kind of slowed down the last 3-4 games, but it is what it is. It's just they really should have maybe lost this past week against the Bears. They really blundered that at the end of the game, but but then again, they came out with the W because it's the Bears. They're truly the kings of choking it near the end of games. So fair play to Minnesota, I suppose. But a week before that, they only beat the Titans by 10 points. And granted, a win was a win, but they really didn't look that great in that game either. A week before that, they barely beat the Jaguars, just barely, by 5 points. Sam Darnold was looking really rough that game. And that's another thing too, man. Sam Darnold was kind of like in the MVP talk loosely the first 5-6 weeks of the NFL season, and then the past 3-4 weeks I feel like he's really come back down to earth. So I think watching him down the stretch is going to be something to keep an eye on. Are we going to see Sam Darnold of the first 5 weeks, or are we going to see the New York Jets Sam Darnold? I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. But I do know this upcoming Sunday is going to be very telling for this team. They're at home against the Arizona Cardinals. Arizona lost a pretty disappointing game on the road against Seattle. Just came out looking real flat. Their offense did not get going at all. I expect Minnesota to win, but this, to me, is a 50-50 kind of trappy game. If somehow the Vikings lose this game, kind of concerning, because right now Arizona's technically not in a playoff position, and they're kind of at that bottom tier playoff caliber team. It'll be a good measuring stick sort of game for the Vikings, in my opinion. After that, at home against the Falcons, then they play the Bears once again, at Seattle, home Green Bay, finish off the year in Detroit. So unless they really mess up and choke in an ugly sort of way, this team is a playoff team. But the real question is, can this team actually win a playoff game? I know it's really impressive considering the fact that they had serious adversity to start the year. For them to make the playoffs, nobody had that kind of prediction going in, especially with JJ McCarthy messing up his knee after one preseason game. So fair play to Kevin O'Connell. I'm a big O'Connell guy. He's definitely one of the best coaches in the league. And I'm excited to see what he does with JJ McCarthy in the future and what he has in store for this team in the future. But I'm telling you, man, this year I just get the vibe that this is a one and done playoff team. Almost like the Browns from a year ago. It was kind of like a miraculous story of Joe Flacco saving their season, and then they got to Houston and everything crumbled. I believe Joe Flacco threw 2 pick sixes and it was just a massacre. And same sort of vibe, same sort of story this year. Sam Darnold came in, saved their season, got off to a crazy hot start, and we'll see what happens right now and going forward in the playoffs. If the playoffs started today, they would be on the road in Atlanta. I feel like they would be favored in that game, but only because Atlanta has not looked too sharp the past 2-3 weeks. But to be honest, I don't even know if it's going to be them in the playoffs or the Bucks. If I had to pick one right now, I think the Bucks are just a hotter team right now. I know a lot can change, and it'll probably come down to the final week in the regular season to determine that fourth seed in the NFC. So we'll have to wait and see. But if you really match up the Vikings against the Lions, the Eagles, the Packers, I don't know. I know the Vikings beat the Packers just barely early on in the season, and that was a really solid, legit win. But I feel like if they played right now, I feel like the Packers would beat them by a couple touchdowns. Like I said, I'm just not impressed with the Vikings' play, especially offensively, the past 2-3 weeks. I feel like they've gotten very lucky. I feel like they 100% should have a couple more L's on their record. You guys let me know if you agree with me, or am I being a bit too harsh? Am I being a bit too biased here? Do you think the Vikings are a legit playoff team? Do you think the Vikings can win a playoff game for this upcoming playoffs? Let me know in the comments below. I think it's really going to depend on who they get matched up against in the first round of the playoffs, because, if the Falcons, that's a winnable game, but if it's against the Bucks are a hot team right now, man. Good defense, Baker's balling, and it's probably going to be a road game as well. You have that to consider. But I just wanted to make this video just because I feel like this is the one kind of maybe overhyped team in the NFL right now. If they had a record that was more like 7-5 or a 500 type record right now, I wouldn't really care, and I wouldn't make this video. But they're 9-2. They're 9-2 right now. That's crazy. Does that look like a 9-2 team this past Sunday against the Bears, against the Jags, against the Tennessee Titans? I'd say no. I would definitely say no. But again, maybe I'm being too harsh. Maybe I'm being too critical. You guys let me know in the comments. But point is, just don't be surprised if this team is one and done in the playoffs. I don't know what the odds are going to be for that playoff game, but just don't be surprised, man. Just don't be surprised if they're out of there. And if the team that's playing them is a dog, I would suggest maybe sprinkling some money there, because another element of it too is I don't know how to feel about Sam Darnold. I feel like it's a tale of two halves so far, and I don't know what he's going to be like down the stretch. That's why it's going to be really fascinating to see what he does. Are we going to see good Sam Darnold or bad Sam Darnold? We'll have to find out. Regardless, though, this is probably going to be his only year in Minnesota, especially if Aaron Rodgers is going to get cut. I feel like he's going to complete the Brett Favre arc, especially with J.J. McCarthy kind of being an unknown for the 2025 year. I know he got knee surgery early on, but he also got another procedure done a few weeks ago, so I don't know what his health is going to be like. I don't know if he's going to be fragile or not. And I totally expect them to add a quarterback. And that's the thing. If Sam Darnold plays good for the rest of the year, he's going to get a big contract from some other team. And it doesn't really make a lot of sense for the Vikings to pay him that massive contract. So, very, very unique season for the Vikings indeed. Kudos to the whole team. Kudos to Kevin O'Connell. But, I just think it's a bit overhyped. You guys let me know in the comments below. And if you made this far, please subscribe. It'd help out your boy a ton. That's all I got for right now. Peace.
To figure out a game plan for this one, Phil.
The heck with figuring out things. It's time to open it up a little bit. You got to take some chances to make positive plays in this league. These are good defenses, so if you want to get some productive plays on the offensive side, take a chance and go down the field with the football.
The Chargers now on third down. Just a week ago, they converted at a high rate in third down situations. 3rd and 7. Ware gets him for the sack. coaching staffs told us this week that this defense would be the key to the game, and so far they're ready for the occasion as they take them off the field and force the punt.
Well, one coaching staff is happy their prediction came true. The other one, of course, is very sad. But so far in this game, very crisp on the defensive side.
The Chargers defense got the takeaway the last time out there with the interception just when it looked like they might be giving up some points.
Yeah, it did look like that, but momentum is on their side now. When you make a good play on the defensive side, Jim, and it stops a scoring drive, man, that fires up the whole team.
Second down.
When you run the football like this and you show toughness, there is no doubt when you fake it and try to throw the football down the field, the quarterback's going to have all day to get it done.